Hi, everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here with Heal Endometriosis Naturally, and as always I hope that this podcast finds you well. These are always my favourite podcasts to share, is when we can share the continued growth of one of my endo bosses who have previously come through my programs and just continue to flourish and thrive and continue to get better. Today you're going to hear the continuing story of Marie West. You may remember her. She's been on twice now in the podcast. Way back a couple of years ago when she'd first read my book, Heal Endometriosis Naturally Without Painkillers, Drugs or Surgery. And then she came on and talked about her results, her amazing results at the end of the Endoboss Academy. Now, she has continued in her pathway, which has just been awesome. Hence why the podcast is titled From Chronic Pain to Coach, because Marie has now graduated as an Endoboss coach as she continues on her journey. But I thought I'd just give you a little bit of background about Marie before you hear from her again, just to refresh kind of where she was at when she first reached out to me. Marie is from the UK. She is in her sort of mid to late 40s. When she first reached out to me, she was suffering from a myriad of different symptoms: the irregular bleeding, bleeding for 14 days plus, migraines, frequent urination, blood clots, pain with bowel movements, chronic fatigue, insomnia, bloating, distended stomach, candida, cysts, endometriomas, all sorts of different symptoms, including acne, just before she would have her time of the month and things as well. She had yeast infections, ulcers, and she was diagnosed with a delayed sleep phase syndrome as well. She had a Mirena coil fitted. She'd had over 6 surgeries, operations, which included, laparoscopies and colonoscopies and all sorts of different things. And she was in a really bad way. I mean, she'd got some sort of progress with my book, and that had really helped her quite significantly. And then she recognised that she needed a lot more sort of personalised one-to-one support with things like the migraines and bloated stomach and heavy bleeding and things like that as well. So as I say, she went through she read the book and got major progress, and then things started to slip back, for a number of different aspects, and then she came into the program. So what you're going to hear from Marie today is how she's put all of her symptoms into remission, and she has, as I say, just finished training as an Endoboss coach, and is now coaching women with endometriosis from an embracing emotions perspective. We have a whole team that support women through the Endoboss Academy, from as I say, from information, education, and of course inspirational element. But Marie is now helping women, coaching them on from an emotional perspective, which is a long way from where she was just over a year and a half ago. Now, I'm also excited to share that my second edition of my book is coming out. And so even if you're wanting to dip your toe in the water to get an idea of kind of what is possible, I'm going to put links in below so you can actually go back and listen to Marie's original interview, which is probably now, I think, about maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, when she first got relief from just reading my book. So I'm hoping to kind of inspire you to do is at least, get the book. If you're listening to this podcast and haven't sort of taken any step forward or scared to do anything, at least read the book, and that will give you some kind of idea of kind of where I was, how terribly ill I was, and it gives you a start. It helps you get started. It's not going to help everybody, although a lot of women have seen significant relief from their symptoms just by reading my book. Now, I've actually got a very special offer that on March the 12th is the day that the paperback book is launched, and you're going to be able to get it for a significantly reduced price just for that one day. But I'll tell you more at the end. But I hope that you really enjoy watching, or rather listening, to this podcast and hear what is possible yet again. There are so many people out there, the naysayers, people making women think that this is a life sentence, that you're going to be stuck with this forever. But I just want you to hear from yet Marie again, and you'll hear from other women over the next couple of weeks what is possible with your amazing body. So I do hope you enjoy this, and I will speak to you again at the end of this interview. Take care. Hey everyone, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here. I am so excited. I know I say this a lot, but I always am so excited when it is interviewing and talking and sharing and discussing with one of my amazing students who have come through one of my programs. And the reason that I do this is so that if you're, whatever you are on your journey and you're wondering, is it possible for me, A, to put my endometriosis into remission, have energy, have vitality, and maybe even have a career as an Endoboss coach with Heal Endometriosis Naturally, or pay forward what you've learned, then this is why I do this, because we're going to be speaking to Marie West from the UK, who you may remember, she's been on my podcast a couple of times now, and she's been phenomenal. She's got this drive, determination, fabulous spirit, because she read my book and she made so many changes, and then she's like, right, okay, I need more help and support, and she joined the program, the Endoboss Academy, and has transformed her body and her life. And then she went into the Endoboss practitioner coach training program, has just graduated. And I thought you'd all want to hear this other part of her journey, because you've heard her at different stages of the journey, which I think is really lovely. But I thought it was really important for you to hear her in her own words, share kind of where she's at now, what she's doing, how she's hoping to help you if you're listening, when you join the Endoboss Academy, and a little bit more about where she's at. So Marie, welcome. It's great to have you back.
Thank you. Always lovely to talk to you.
Well, you're looking glowing. You're looking so healthy and so happy, which is always a joy anyway. For those who aren't seeing her and just listening, she's looking amazing. So, but we're here today just to discuss you. You've just graduated from the Endoboss practitioner coach training, and perhaps you could maybe just start with a little bit of kind of maybe just a quick overview for those who haven't heard all your other story, kind of what led you to this point of joining the Endoboss coach training.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Wendy touched on it briefly there. So I've suffered from endometriosis for, well, it's my early 20s. I started really suffering with pain. So I'm 47 now. So that's in excess of 27 years. Didn't get diagnosed officially until I was 37. So I'd already been suffering for 17 years by that point. 3 horrific rounds of IVF, pain, horrendous symptoms, bleeding, bloating, social isolation, depression, for sure. And then I read Wendy's book in 2016, having realised that what I was doing wasn't working. Nothing was changing. Keep going to the doctors. They kept giving me more drugs, painkillers, surgery, none of which helped. In fact, anything they gave me seemed to make me worse. And so read Wendy's book in 2016, implemented some of the changes, really did get a benefit from that, and then in about 2018 I had a cyst flare up. I'd had a bit of a lapse of my regime that I'd implemented, went back to the doctors, they tried to put me on drugs again, and I just thought, no, not doing that anymore. I know now that it's not good for me, and so I reached out to Wendy, did her foundation program, 21-day challenge, and then the advanced program, and I've now just completed my 6 months training as an Endoboss coach, and it's been an amazing experience.
Does it feel weird kind of when you're talking like about where you were? Because I know on the journey, like we journal as we go through this journal while we go through this journey, even I'll put my teeth in. but does it feel kind of weird now? Does it feel like a different you? Like, what's that like?
Oh my God, if you'd said to me a year ago that I would be out of pain, not suffering with any symptoms at all, having light 3-day periods with, you know, I don't even know I'm having them anymore, which just, I still have to pinch myself that I keep waiting for the pain, or I keep waiting for something, but it doesn't happen. It's just what normal people deal with. And just incredible to think that I've done that myself through journaling, through the healing I've implemented with the regime. Just wonderful, absolutely wonderful, unbelievable. Actually, if I hadn't done it myself, I would not have believed it, but I have.
Well, that's right. We were talking before we came on, weren't we? It's kind of like if you hadn't experienced it, you almost wouldn't believe it. You'd almost think, yeah, bit woo woo and all that sort of stuff. But it is so phenomenal what our bodies can do if you give it the right ingredients, the right environment, and the right direction. You can really literally turn it around. It's the old, you don't know what you don't know, but when you do know, oh my goodness, what a difference you can really make to your life. So what's obviously, so you had this great success, you know, with the Endoboss Academy and healing your body. And I think what I really love about the journey is, whilst we're here to support you, guide you and mentor you, it really is your own journey. So, you know, so obviously you had that success. What did that feel like to have that success?
Yeah, just, I was so despondent when I joined, because I'd had years of being not believed, not listened to, and, you know, just the continual trips to the doctors with, you know, 5 to 10 minute consultation, and just being made to feel like a body part. IVF, I felt like a scientific experiment. There's no two ways about it. And to put myself through 3 rounds of that had a devastating effect. But now it's just amazing what the body can do if you give it the right conditions, the right nutrients, cut the toxins out, really look at a lot of the layers that the programs go into, and I've learned to listen to my body again, you know, because you go to doctors and you're told certain things because they have certain expectations of each kind of thing that you go with, but I've learned to listen to myself, because I am the only one that knows. They don't, and it's to be heard, believed, understood. Probably more importantly than anything, it was the understanding I got from Wendy and the team that really was the difference for me.
Well, absolutely. We so love working with women like yourself, because you're just a joy to work with, and you know, and we feel the pain literally, metaphorically, and physically for you, because we understand how frustrating it is. Because a woman like yourself who you know apply and we want to work with, you know, it's not that through lack of willpower or effort or determination or drive. It's just, you know, I use that story of the bumblebee, my bumblebee story. You know, if you're trying to bang your head through the glass to get through the glass, you ain't going to get through it, because you're just going to get through it. And you really are the epitome of what is like to be an endoboss. You're now the boss of your endometriosis, which is phenomenal, which is why you're invited into the Endoboss practitioner coach training. So what about that aspect? Why were you drawn to continue your study and join the Endoboss practitioner coach training?
Mainly you, Wendy, if I'm being brutally honest. To be supported by somebody that completely understands where you're at is something I've never experienced before. And the doctors were all very nice. You know, I'm not knocking them for the care they gave me, but ultimately they didn't understand the condition. I had a lot of male doctors in my time. My main gynecologist was a male, so they just cannot in a million years understand what I'm going through. And to have come through the programs with Wendy and the other women that you meet along this journey, who are all incredible, amazing women, that community is nothing I've ever experienced before. You know, I had counselling previously, but again, they didn't really get it because they didn't really understand the condition. So the main reason I've done this is because I want to support women with endometriosis. I want to get the word out there. I want to help the community grow and learn that you can change the course. You don't have to stick with what you've done because it's what you've always done. There is a different way of doing things. It's hard, I'm not going to lie. You know, I've cut out a lot of things that I used to like, but I've replaced them with other things that I now know give my body nutrition and nurture me, rather than putting toxins in my body that are just going to make my condition even worse. So yeah, that's what I want to get the message out there, help other women, help you grow, and maybe you can become an endo boss coach as well one day, who knows.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you've been a fantastic student as always. I mean, I think, as I say, you're the epitome of an endo boss, because once you've made that commitment, you know, you do what needs to be done. And I always say it's not particularly an easy journey, but it's so worth it at the end to be free of the pain and suffering. And then learning to be a coach, to be able to pay forward what you've learned within this community is just so phenomenal as well. So perhaps if people are interested, because obviously we've got endometriosis health coach training coming up soon, and you and one of your colleagues are going to be assisting me potentially in training some new women coming through, because we need more and more women coaches coming through, so we can really help, you know, end the suffering for women emotionally as well as physically. So how did you, so what was it about the coaching that you enjoyed the most, the actual training? Because it was put into two parts, as you said, it's like a 6 month training program.
Yeah.
So how did you find the first part of the coach training? What did you like about that?
Okay, so the first part's very much the theory, and me understanding my core values, my beliefs, really getting in touch with my feelings, because it's very easy when you've been subjected to the treatment a lot of women have been over the years, that they just stop listening to themselves. The disconnect it's huge, you know, it's so seismic, because you just stop. You've stopped communicating with your body, you don't trust your instincts, excuse me, and to really get back in touch with me, and remember what I'm about, why I'm doing this, and the theory behind coaching, because it's not something I've done before. So to really get that education was just brilliant. Yeah, and really loads of information, loads of handout, lots of very visual stuff as well, which I personally really enjoy, because I'm a very visual person and I learn by doing things rather than sitting and reading. But Wendy's webinars are, there's obviously a bit of everything in there for you. So there's obviously the theory, the practical, the visual, and it's the audio obviously as well, of course. So it's all the senses are kind of appeal to with the way it's delivered, which for me was just brilliant.
Oh, fantastic. And I know with you and your colleagues, when you started the training, you were a bit kind of nervous, like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And I think it does take a special type of woman who really cares about other women, who have that lovely desire and intent to help others. And then the rest is, there's the theory and then there's the practice. And from my own journey, I've done many courses, and what I try to do is take the best of what I'd learned, but also my own unique experience with working with women with endometriosis, because we are unique. We are exquisitely, I call us EHISPs, exquisitely highly sensitive, intuitive people. You know, we are just very sensitive. That doesn't mean that we're weak by any manner of means. But we have a much higher degree of connectivity and sensitivity that we need to learn about ourselves primarily, which is what you learned in the first part. And then, of course, how do we support ourselves as coaches whilst also supporting our coachees? And that's the real skill and art form, is because once you have got yourself well, you have to keep yourself well. And as you know, that was paramount of importance to me as you were coming through the first part and the second part. Obviously, I was always like, just checking, how are you, what are you doing, you taking care of yourself, because sometimes old habits die hard. But no, it was phenomenal, because I really watched, especially even in the first part, and I'll go on to the second part in a minute, because I'd love you to share some of your own case study examples. But you know, the first part for me was all about, just getting a little bit deeper. I use the analogy of being the lighthouse, walking the walk, talking the talk, and not the tugboat. Because again, we all have very similar characteristics, where we love helping people in the past at the expense of ourselves. And we can't do that, especially as we're moving forward. So what was it like to kind of learn to have that reinforcement? What did that feel like to have that reinforcement of taking care of yourself?
Yeah, really good. And I needed it, because it is easy to let things slip, and especially once I am compassionate, I like helping people, and I was constantly kind of always trying to help. I will always try and help people, it's in my nature, but it is being aware that there's only so much I can do. I am one person, I can only help people if they want to be helped, and it's that reminder of that, because if I'm putting myself out there all the time, that's just going to drain me, and then I'm not going to be able to help the women that actually want the help as well. So for me, the reflection, the reminding, the reassurance actually as well was paramount to my progression in this, because if things had slipped back, I wouldn't be being authentic, and I wouldn't be able to sit here today. You know, I feel healthy, I feel well, I'm not anxious, not stressed, you know, all of the things I came into this course feeling when I started with Wendy a year ago, they've all gone, and I have to remind myself every day that I come first, and I can't help anybody else if I haven't put me first, basically.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for those listening, we're not talking about being selfish and self-centered, because it's just never in our nature. It's not part of our DNA, it's not part of our cells. So if you're worried about that particular aspect, please don't worry. What we have to work with, if endometriosis has shown up in your body, a woman with endometriosis, they have very similar characteristics, and they tend to, you know, overextend themselves, and it's over caring and almost codependency and all those characteristics that actually we need to learn, that whilst they're beautiful parts, that they need to come in balance with other parts. And if you don't take care of yourself, it's the oxygen mask scenario that we use on planes, isn't it? The air hostess will say, well, if the plane starts to go down, an oxygen mask will appear overhead. Put your own oxygen mask on first, and then put it on for someone else. But you'd find us running around putting oxygen masks for everybody else, and then we would die, because we would forget to put our own one on. And I think that's what was really reinforced in the first part, was you can't be effective as a coach if you're ill. You can't be effective as a coach if you're not walking the walk and talking the talk. And I sit here with my shakes, I do my meditation, I do everything, my journaling, blah, blah, I do it. You know, I have to. Not only because it feeds me and it cares me, but it means then I can then, because you would know if I wasn't doing it, you would just know intuitively. So that was why the first part was so important, just to, and also just get super clear on those deeper elements of yourself, that sometimes, you know, life's so busy and so frantic, that you often almost feel you're not almost allowed. So when I think back to when you first started at the very beginning, there was obviously a lot of kind of apprehension and a bit of like, oh, what's this all about? And can I even do this coaching thing? Because again, for those who don't know what coaching is, it seems a very generic term. And this is why we kind of specialize the term. It's like embracing emotions coach kind of near the end, and you specialize in endometriosis, because there's lots of coaching out there. There's sports coaching, and there's singing coaching, and there's dog coaching, and there's all sorts of different coaching out there. And coaching is such a generic term, but in regards to endometriosis, it's a very specialized training, because unless you've had the condition, you don't know the condition. Right. You know? And there might be those who are professionals, caring professionals in other caring realms, that would love to know more about how to support their clients with endometriosis, and you know, we'll be talking about those training programs in time. But I'm curious, you know, as I say, when you started, it was kind of like you always had an idea of what coaching was. How did that idea kind of, how did it realize itself throughout the program? You know, what you would have had an idea of what you thought it was, and then how did it turn out to be for you?
Yeah, so I see my idea of coaching had come from our sessions, and I really loved the return to self on a lot of the questions. So how did you feel? How did that make you feel? Where did you feel it? And it really makes you think. It makes you stop and think and actually listen to yourself. So for me, when I went into it, I mean, I'm a trainer. I've got a City and Guilds level 3 in training, so I deliver training quite often. So I'm not shy in talking to people.
You're not new to training. No,
not at all. And like delivering things, you know, I'm quite happy, and I'm very positive and upbeat about a lot of stuff. And but this, oh gosh, initially I was like a rabbit in the headlights, because I thought, wow, so we started off with laser coaching, literally like 5-minute sessions with friends and family members, just as practice clients. And initially I was very nervous going into it, but with the webinars and with the feedback that Wendy gives and the just listening back, we have to listen back to all the calls that we do, and then self-appraise. Amazing. Yeah, I really feel I've got the coaching flow going now, and that I am the emotional growth I've seen in the people I'm working with is incredible.
Yeah, we're going to come back because that's the most exciting part, I think. But yeah, no, it's great to hear, because that said, I think we started off in tiny little ant-sized, bite-sized pieces, and the reason I do that is because to build up your confidence. You might even have had, like, you're clearly very well experienced in the work that you do. You're very high up where you are, you know, and you're used to training people. But when we're coaching women with endometriosis, they don't need patronizing people. They don't need people to kind of like, right, do this, do that. You know, it's a very fine line of what you now know is every woman has the internal guidance system to guide themselves in their direction of their life. And our goal is to be those aware witnesses, these believing mirrors, whatever you want to call it. And that takes skill, because constantly there's always this, you have your own parts at play. In fact, I said, to get to know, I wrote this in my journal this morning, to get to know your parts, you get to know your parts so you can become whole. And the essence of the coaching is to help you understand and accept and love and bring out from the shadows parts of yourself as a coach and as a coachee, so that you can learn to integrate them and get, trust your instincts and move forward. So it was really lovely to see you develop, over time, and very rapidly, I may add. The momentum was really quick, because I could feel and see and hear, that the confidence growing, because it's a confidence thing. I think once you understand the concept is key, and then you understand like some key elements and some key skills, your confidence really started to grow. When did you first start noticing your confidence grow in your coaching?
Yeah, I think once we kind of put the embracing emotions term onto the coaching, then that really was the click that I needed, because at that point I was still kind of finding my way in my other job that I do. I have to ask a lot of questions, and I've had to really kind of unlearn that behaviour, because the whole point of coaching is just to let the person talk and express themselves and question themselves, actually, and then maybe their beliefs, limiting beliefs, that kind of thing. So I really had to kind of learn to step back and just be present and just turn up and believe in my clients' ability to listen to themselves, or in fact to help them learn to listen to themselves, because again, a lot of them have lost that natural instinct and ability to do so. So yeah, it's wonderful to see.
I know, and I think that's it. There's different styles of other people have done coaching. This is so unique to endometriosis. This is why I love doing this, because we are unique women, and for people who are listening to this, I want you to embrace your uniqueness. You may have had people around about you, doctors, work colleagues, partners, go, oh, what's wrong with you? You're not ill again. There's a reason why these things have shown up in your body, and learning as a coach how to, as you say, to help people learn how to connect to themselves is so important. So therefore it was split into two sections deliberately, so you could really build up your confidence and can understand the connection. And in part two, we kind of honed it down even more, as I say, embracing emotions, which I felt was really at the core of what we're doing. It's helping women embrace their emotions, because we can connect the emotions, because sometimes it's not the emotion per se, it is the judgment of the emotion that causes the distress. And then if that judgment then causes that emotion to be suppressed. So this is why it's so important as a coach to help guide women to learn to be comfortable and embrace their emotions. So certainly, so moving into part two, it was really into the practical side of things. And again, really building up slowly, but really, so how did you find part two? Because that was far more practical, far more kind of like, right, you've had the theory and let's jump into the practice now.
Yeah, I mean, initially I was like, where am I going to get people to practice on? And I've been genuinely overwhelmed at the response I've had to my pleas for help for practice clients. Initially, again, the first few sessions, when I listen back now, my inner critic has a field day, because now I know what I know, but then I don't judge myself because I didn't know at the time. So it's been a really fascinating journey, and so quickly, I've now got 13 people that I'm working with while I get my certification, and just incredible. The first few sessions, just building the rapport with them, been amazing, and the second part of the course was so much more practical. It's all the practical stuff. You're getting feedback on your calls, you're doing your self appraisals, you're writing your case studies, so it's a lot more really focusing on the practical element and the actual art of coaching rather than the theory, but you need that theory before you can do the practical, obviously. So yeah, really, I love the way it's been designed.
Well, thank you. And how did you find getting the feedback? Because obviously I pick a selection of a random of your case studies. I picked up a random of coaching sessions that you record and would give you feedback. Now, how did you find getting that? Because I know when I was training, I never got that. I never got that specific. It was just more my self-critic that gave me feedback, and it wasn't very friendly feedback that I gave myself. So how did you find getting that kind of support?
I wouldn't have progressed as quickly as I have without it. There's no other way of putting it, because if you're not getting feedback from an expert, then how can you? If I was just self-appraising myself, I wouldn't be at the stage I'm at now. It's that simple, and it was quick as well because the feedback was consistent and regular. You're able to adjust your course, or maybe change the way you ask a question, or because I was delving too deeply. I was reverting to my current job, but I was reverting to that too quickly. But with Wendy's feedback, I was able to see that I've got to park that when I'm doing this, and I have to just listen, reflect back, remind the ladies, give them recognition for the amazing work that they're doing, and once that clicked, then I think my sessions have just grown and grown since, beneficially for the women that I'm, and the men actually, that I'm coaching. So yeah.
No, and I think it's good to hear that, because as I say, I know myself on my own journey, I didn't get that very specific, and I needed someone who was encouraging and believing in me, but could just gently maybe just, why don't we tweak this, tweak that, rather than go, no, you're rubbish, and be harsh, because we've got our own harsh self-critic, and be able to kind of just, because that builds confidence, I feel, and then the other thing that builds confidence, and this is the important thing, drum roll, is of course the proof is in the pudding. So perhaps you could even just share one or two just very quick overviews of the transformations, and there's no other word for it, in 6 weeks, using these skills, and they're very specialized skills that you're being taught to work with, that we work with, and hence why they're so effective with people who don't have endometriosis, let alone the impact they have on endometriosis. Perhaps you could even just share one or two quick overviews.
Sure. Well, 3 of my ladies have now completed the 6 weeks that I asked them to commit to in order to get the benefit from it. It's mind-blowing. So they all came to the theme. Actually, I was genuinely quite shocked at how common the themes are. So for me, especially with the ladies that I'm working with, the overwhelm, the anxiety, the guilt, the shame, parent shame for thinking they're not parenting well, trying to be everything to everyone. So most of my ladies are working full-time hours, even though they're part-time staff, but feel they have to do more because they're part-time, and a parent. A lot of them single parents as well. So they came to me, and it was a complete overwhelmed situation. They weren't listening to themselves. They were anxious, stressed, on edge all the time, not sleeping, not taking any time for themselves, keeping themselves constantly busy, classic distraction techniques of putting off doing anything for them. But there's always the chores to do, and there's always more work that I can do, and I can always stay on later at work and do that work that the full-timers couldn't have time to do and stuff. So utterly shocked, actually, I think would be the term, when I realised how prolific that is within our society. And yeah, so I've had 6 sessions. Like I say, 3 of them have now finished. I'm just writing the case studies up now, and it's week. Should I tell you what happened week on week, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, even just give, you know, the listeners, just give one example of one lady, give her name if you're comfortable, or maybe change her name if you want, but just to kind of like, this is what she was like, yeah, on week 1. And we're talking 6 weeks here. This is why I think it's so important to do this testimonial and share, because it's
Sure.
fabulously inspiring.
Okay, yeah, so one of my ladies, Cassie, I'm sure she'll be absolutely fine with me using her as an example. She came to me with real commitment. I will put that out there, that you have to be committed. You have to have a committed client. She booked regularly. She really thought about what she wanted to talk about before we got the sessions going. She worked hard in her own time. So I would talk to her for half an hour. She would discuss how she had been feeling, what had been coming up for her. I encouraged her to journal, because I really felt it helps everybody, but it's a big commitment to do, and to write stuff down if you're maybe insecure about other people reading what you're writing, especially when it's emotional stuff. But in 6 weeks, she is more confident in making decisions that benefit her. She's not taking on as much at work, and in fact she's actually delegating out stuff now. When she came to me, she actually was thinking of upping her hours, because she felt that she wasn't doing enough while she was there. She's now completely boshed that idea off, because she realised that she does more than enough actually, and she's giving herself more time. She's less anxious, less stressed. She wasn't sleeping well. In fact, you know, the doctors had said she was basically an insomniac, but she's sleeping better because she's doing her relaxation every day. She's taking time for herself. She's journaling, processing her feelings, which has been, she's done all the hard work. I've literally just listened to her for half an hour every week or so as we've booked the sessions in, and just encouraged her, believed in her, supported her, made her feel safe. The emotions that come up for people, it's very important that you feel safe talking to the coach, because you can get upset. These things do kind of catch you off guard sometimes, and you know, I really wanted her to feel safe and secure getting upset with me and actually working through those feelings, because they're difficult to deal with. They're feelings that we don't like to perhaps acknowledge a lot of the time, or even admit to ourselves that we're feeling. And for her to be able to sit with me, work through that in a safe environment, the impact has been seismic. Her life, she is flying now, and it's just having a huge ripple effect now. It's permeating into lots of other parts of her life, and just wonderful, just from being sat and listened to.
Yeah, but I think you're almost undermining the what you're doing, because you remember when you first started out, it's very different. This is a skilled form of coach listening now. This is you're creating such an environment which is a testament to you. So what does that feel like, you know, through this coach training, to be able to offer up this freedom of you've said, of, you know, anxiety and fear and worry and sleepiness, all these things, to be able to, in such a short period of time, to be able to enable that kind of impact, that positive impact?
It's incredible. I feel so proud of myself actually for having committed the time and money obviously to do this, but interestingly I'm actually working part-time in my other job now, earning less than I've ever earned, but because obviously I have to get the coaching hours up, but I'm the most content I've ever been, and because I can see the changes, I can see the impact it's having, and the more I do it, the better I feel, because it just reinforces that what I'm doing is the right path. You know, to help these women through really some quite traumatic situations, and we don't talk about the past particularly, it's about them processing what's coming up now, but for them just to be able to sit and be sort of held in that nice space where they can express themselves fully. I don't judge, I don't tell them what to do, I do tell them to journal. Everybody's journaling.
Apart from the journaling.
Apart from the journaling.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening to this, you know the way I say that a lot. Exactly.
So I gently shove them with love to journal and to relax themselves, to get their relaxation time in, because absolutely paramount. And it's what, with Cassie especially, she committed to it from the first week, and she has reaped the benefits hugely. It's just been absolutely incredible to be part of that journey with her in such a short space of time as well.
Well, I know, and even hearing you say that you've never felt this sense of peace ever in your life is such a joy to me, because I get it, like, that this is what you're supposed to do, because again, Moise had said the same thing, hadn't she? Within 24 hours, you both said the same thing, I think, last week. I'm like, that's when you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing. And because I feel the same. I've always known, like, this is why I had all these decades of pain and suffering, so that therefore I could learn how to put it in remission and pay it forward. And that's what you're doing now. You that sense of peace lets you know that, yeah, you're in the right place and you're doing the right thing. It's phenomenal, isn't it? And I mean, could you have ever imagined at the beginning that you would be where you are now?
No.
Even just the beginning of the Endobos coach training, because that was yet another huge period of growth, wasn't it?
Yeah. No. Just to have come as far as I have, I mean, and I've been very committed to the process, so I have got to stress that you do need to be committed, and you have to put the work in, because if you don't, you just simply won't get anything out of it, or you won't get the results that you hope for. So and that's hard for me, because I'm perhaps not the most disciplined individual on the planet. Wendy had her battles with me with the journaling for the first 6 weeks of the foundation course, but once I saw the benefit of that, there's just no stopping me. I should have got myself, I've got literally a stack of journals now that I flick back through just to remind myself how far I've come in 10 journals worth of time, because that's how you can measure it. It's 10 A4 notepads of time, and my life has changed completely. Just incredible.
Oh, it's wonderful. So what surprised you the most about the program then? The Endobos coach training?
For me, it's been learning what I'm capable of, because I probably underestimate myself a lot. Women with endometriosis especially, I think we carry on with life, we push ourselves forward, but it's always with that payoff of being in pain and suffering, and perhaps not being valued, or feeling that we're valued, or people not being understood. And for me to have put the condition in remission, which I was told would never happen, and then to be here now sitting talking to Wendy about training other women or helping other women to do the same thing, I just couldn't believe it. I would not have believed it. Even 6 months ago, I was probably still quite wary of how this was going to end up, because I just couldn't see the path forward. It's not a path I've trodden before. I've never been believed in particularly before. Never had the kind of support. So the biggest surprise for me was me.
And that's it. And I have to say, I'm very selective who I work with. So that's a huge compliment to you, because I've seen, and I still see, we've still got lots to do yet, because I can see where you're headed. I can see I love using the analogy, like in the soil, I can see all the glimmers of gold that we're still bringing up, there's the diamonds that are within you that you're still learning. And it's like the human spirit, that the human soul, you give it the right environment, as well as human cells, they'll repair, but you give the human spirit and soul the right environment, and it grows equally. Bring toxicity in people who are putting you down all the time, you shrink and you die, you shrivel up, So this is where, again, in the right environment, this is why I pride myself on this community, is making sure it's safe, and it's and I think some people mistake our kindness and generosity for weakness, but we are anything but weak. But I think when we're training to be coaches, there is a skill and an art form, learning to help share, for other women to embrace their emotions and connect to themselves. And from what I'm hearing, that you've really connected to yourself even more, which is beautiful to hear from my perspective. And whilst you've had the support and the mentoring, it's not like you're dependent on me for that or codependent on that. You know that I'm here for you, my team are here for you, but equally you have that lovely, you've really brightened up that core strength within yourself that you know you can rely upon, that you can tap into and you can access, which in turn then gives you the confidence as a coach now when you're paying this forward with your other coachees that they have that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've realised, I suppose I knew it, but I hadn't, again, listened to myself, that nobody is going to fix me. Nobody is going to make me better. Nobody's going to, I'm not going to say help, that's not the right term, but nobody, I've had to do it myself, and I didn't know that I could. And I've had to learn skills that you'd think were kind of basic, like listening. I've really had to learn to listen properly to people, and not listen with the idea of just immediately answering and responding. It's really listening deeply to what somebody's saying. That's had an impact on every part of my life, not just the coaching. But for me, it's knowing that I can rely on myself. I can do anything I put my mind to. I suppose I've always been quite confident in if I want something, I generally will just go out and get it. But I think in the past I would have expected a bit of a helping hand, or maybe more than I think my expectations were too high of other people, let's put it that way. And what I've learned through this process is that I need to have high expectations of myself, and that I can meet them. I can listen in and really instinctively feel what's right for me. And listening to other people questioned what I was doing. Obviously they were like, that you're going to do what to do what that's not even medically approved. And but I just knew that what Wendy's doing is absolutely the right way for me, and it was that simple. I actually got to the point where without sounding brutal, didn't care what other people thought in the end, because this has worked for me, and it's worked for a lot of other women now that Wendy's worked with. I don't know what the actual figures are of how many people have come through the programs now, but Wendy is growing an army of women who are strong. We're strong by virtue of the condition that we've got. We've had to be. We are strong in ourselves. We trust ourselves. We rely on ourselves. And yes, we have the support of the community and the groups that we're in going through Wendy's programs. But ultimately, it comes back to me, and that brings me peace.
Lovely. And I loved how you said we're strong by virtue of the condition. I think that's a beautiful phrase, and I think that sums it up, isn't it? Women with endometriosis are strong anyway, but the condition itself, if not given the right environment, support, information, you don't know what you don't know, like I said before, then that can just erode away, actually physically, emotionally, spiritually. And even just hearing, for me, I felt the coaching program was a success when I heard you all say, yeah, I'm at peace, because then I know that you're connecting with yourself. And I think that's at the core, the essence of why I created these programs was to empower. I talk about the AIEIE, awareness, increase awareness of yourself and what's happening in and around you. Get the information, get the education. AIEI, get the inspiration. This is where I'm like, don't you even think about giving up. I'm here, like, you can do this. And then at the end, AIEIE is empowerment. And for me, that is what it's all about. And empowerment can be banded around quite a bit, but empowerment for me means a woman is comfortable, accepting of herself. And that's a very tough statement to make, because most of us are given all these mixed messages of who we should be, what we should think, what we should wear, what we should be accomplishing. But that self-acceptance and that inner peace is just beautiful. And then when you are coaching from that lighthouse, peaceful perspective, not in a lord it over someone, I've got it sorted, you haven't, you need to do this, because that makes people shrivel up and regress. But this way helps people to grow, naturally grow. It's like planting the seed and giving it everything that it needs. So that's so beautiful to hear. It really is so beautiful to hear. So what do you think are your major strengths that you've gained from this program?
My listening to my own instincts, for sure, because I was full of self-doubt prior to doing this course. My listening skills have improved you know, we learn to read and write in school, but we don't actually learn to listen properly. And it's the impact that has on every part of my life, like I say, has been huge. Just learning a new skill actually as well. You know, I'm 47, and to kind of be now thinking about changing careers. I've been doing the same job I've done now for the last 17 years, and to think about how I can even actually involve the coaching now in the work that I do. I just wouldn't have even have thought that, you know, a year ago. I just thought I was kind of stuck on the path I was on. Yeah, so new skills. I've met some amazing people with this. Moitza, who I'm coaching with, that she is the most beautiful soul, and to have somebody like her, obviously we coach each other as well through the program, and just to have her there going through this with me has had such a huge impact. Just incredible. You know, I come off every call glowing. You know, and I hope that's what I do for my coachees as well, that they literally come off the call and think,
well,
wow,
you know that's what happens, because you know that the next week you're, and this is what I kind of want to refer back to before we finish up, is like, what does that feel like to have that beautiful positive impact by creating an environment where you're just holding the place and space, which takes skill and it takes expertise to develop that. As you say, we're not taught how to listen at school, we're not taught how to reflect and recognize and you know, and really help build somebody up. A lot of society is about tearing other people down. Look at social media, it's all about nitpicking. I got an email from somebody yesterday telling me that my grammar wasn't particularly good in this particular chapter of my book, and I'm like, really? Is that all you? But that's fine. That's them and that's their thing. But most, you know, a lot of people get a lot of antagonism, a lot of abuse, a lot of toxicity. So how does that feel to be part of this really changing the course, slowly but surely building a community, a momentum, a movement, really, is what we're doing with this community. And it's not all about anti anyone else, because that's really key for me too. It's not about anti-doctors or anti this or anti that. What it is about acceptance of where we're at, but also the recognition of the choices that we have, and then getting the support that we need to move forward. So what does that feel like to be part of that?
I've said it before, it's the best little gang in the world to be part of. There's just to be in a non-toxic environment where everybody's just supportive, builds you up, celebrates your wins, shares your sadness when you have maybe the odd off day, but doesn't judge you for that. There's nothing else like it. There is nothing else like it. I have never been part of anything like this. You know, I've got wonderfully supportive friends and, you know, things like that, and they've all really helped me along my path, but none of them have got endometriosis to the degree I have. That a couple of them have, but not certainly with the haven't gone through the IVF and that kind of thing. And to be in this little gang that's turning into an army of movement of women, endo bosses, is just endo boss. It's really difficult. Actually, I get quite emotional even thinking about it, because it's never been made to feel like it before, and it's to be understood and heard and recognised actually for what I've done and for how far I've come. It's just, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So tell me about that emotion. I'm not going to let that go. Tell me about that.
Well, I spent years just being, I'm not going to say not believed, but just feeling like I was almost making things up, making the pain up, making the symptoms up. I got so fed up of people saying, "Oh, how are you, Marie?" And I'd just be like, "You don't want to know. There's no point me even telling you, because it's worse than it was last month, or this time it's you know 10 times worse than it was." And I'd have the surgeries and they didn't help. They just made things worse. And to come into this group, I didn't expect to get this upset. I'm so sorry.
Please don't apologise. Please don't apologise.
To come into this group of women who just get you. They pull you in like a great big hug, and just let you be. They understand what you've been through. A lot of them have had surgeries as well, or IVF treatments that have failed, and to be just heard is the best feeling I think I've had since I got diagnosed. And it took so long to get the diagnosis anyway. You feel like you're going mad, because you just think, am I actually in this much pain? Nothing they're giving me is working, so maybe I am imagining it. I knew I wasn't. And to be just embraced by loving, supportive women that don't knock you, don't doubt your symptoms, don't make you feel that you're perhaps making things up or exaggerating, is just the most incredible thing, really. We've all been through enough. If we've suffered from endo, the last thing you need is more people not believing you or not supporting you. And it's the best feeling in the world to be embraced like that, really.
That's lovely to hear. And I think the emotion to me speaks very much that you sounds like you just weren't seen. It wasn't even so much that you believe. That's hard when you're constantly going out and doubting your own self and doubting whether or not are you making this up, because that's what's been projected back to you. But it's like you end up feeling invisible. Like you don't even want people to ask how you were, because then you have to lie.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I physically became invisible. I'd cut off from friends. I stopped socialising. I'd turn up for work, but my sickness record was horrendous. And since so I got off on the emotional front, but I've not had a day off sick in a year now from work, not one day. And before, my sickness record was every month I would be off work sick with either a migraine or bleeding, or just pain so bad that I wouldn't be able to leave the house. So it affected every part of my life. It wasn't, my relationships were affected, my friendships were affected, my self-esteem was affected, my work, and to be able to sit here now a year on with not having a sick day in a year. I socialise again. I know lockdown's obviously affected that to a degree, but I can go out when people ask me how. I don't even need to ask how I am, because people say, "Oh my God, you look healthy and well," and just to hear that just is, you cannot put a price on that feeling. It's just incredible, absolutely incredible.
And I think that's it. You can't put a price on that. And I think if you're right in the right environment that understands, as you said, like we don't have to explain the little nuances, because we know. But what we're focused on is, like, we understand that, and we're going to use that experience as our strength. Like is it the Chinese or Japanese bowl, where they get a broken Japanese bowl and they put it together with gold?
Yeah,
that's what we're doing here. Hence why they've got the gold Endoboss here, because you are an alumni now, and you are an Endoboss practitioner coach now, and you are the epitome of, you've used that experience, that sadness, and I'm pleased that you're comfortable enough to feel that emotion, because there's been parts in all of us who think, all these wasted years, all that loneliness, isolation, that people not believing us, and worse, it's that projection back that there's something wrong with us. And now we're like taking all of that and we're using that like fuel to really ripple forward and help women free themselves from that, because no woman deserves that suffering.
No, and it is fuel to the fire. It really is. I got to the point where I had to get angry, and I got to the point where I just thought, is this it? Is this going to be my life for the next 10, 15 years? If it is, I don't want to go on. I can't go on living like I am. And I had something, that was the switch. Something had to change, and I knew that what I'd been doing hadn't been working. And I had to take a different course, and I did.
And you did, and this is where you are now. And it's so fantastic to be part of your journey as well. I always think when people say I'm proud of you, it sounds patronizing, but that, you know, I really have great admiration and pride for you, because I know, and I think this is what I'm still trying to eloquently express through the mediums, you know, in social media, of the like, I know when you were sharing your case studies, you're like, how do I put this into words, the growth? Because this is what, imagine if we as a society created this environment. Can you imagine created this kind of community and environment? We're not talking, you know, cults here. We're not talking, you know, or anything like that. We're talking about helping empower people in ways that are really healthy, but equally providing a safe and loving and caring community that does nothing but focus on the positives and reflect on the, you know, on the successes that are happening, and then having abject belief and obviously direction and education and information to help on the pathway. Can you imagine what that would be like, especially for women? Because I think women, you know, have been all over the world, you know, get it pretty tough. Women have to work twice as hard as men to get the jobs, and I'm not here to bash men or anything like that, but, you know, focusing on our community, it means a lot to me to hear someone like yourself be comfortable enough to share, to be a human, to be a woman, and also to see you thriving. And as I say, I can see in you where you're headed. And I love that you're part of our community. You're a joy to work with. You're a joy to have part. And I hope that women listening to this are really kind of like, okay, where do I sign up? And how do I get myself well? How do I heal and then train? Because that's really what it's about. You know, if you're listening to this and you have this like burning desire to help people. I know when I was chronically bedridden and disabled in bed, I was like wanting to save the world, but I couldn't even save myself. So I had to learn how to save myself first and then help other women. So what would you say as a parting sort of sum up to this beautiful interview? What would you say to someone considering applying to work as an endometriosis or endometriosis health coach, or join the Endoboss Academy and then the Endoboss coach training?
Just do it. Just do it. Yes, it's going to cost money, so let's just obviously address that. Nothing is free in this life,
and it can be offset against tax later on as well. You know,
and it's not even, the money's not even a thing for me, because I cannot put value on. Oh no, I'll rephrase that. Sorry. How do you put value on me being in that state, that emotion I feel now? I've just had to write my story for Wendy's book, her success stories that she's doing, and so I hope when that's published, if anybody kind of doubts anything I've said, you'll see it, it's all in there in writing. And that emotion's never going to go for me, but I'm grateful for that, because it's really taught me how strong I am, how reliant on myself I can be, how I can listen to myself. And yes, I've invested money, but I'm investing in me, which is something I haven't done for years. And it's just the best thing I've ever done. To see the growth I've seen with the women I'm already working with is phenomenal. Can't even imagine where I'm going to be in another year's time, especially with the health practitioner training coming up as well, so that even people that haven't got endo can help support women that have. It's just wonderful. It's just an incredible thing to be part of. Just listen to your gut as well, I'll say. And if this feels right and sounds right, then don't hesitate.
Yeah, and I think that's a lovely phrase what you said of it, listen to your gut, because if you're listening to this and there's something like kind of ignited in you, like you love helping people, you know, that there's going to be applications are going to be opening up in the next wee while where you can apply to work with me, and we can we're going to be opening up this endometriosis health coach training, as well as the Endoboss coach training. Those who get the accolade of Endoboss practitioner coach have to have gone through the academy before, because you have to heal yourself and then you get the training. But those who are maybe health professionals who maybe don't have endometriosis but would love to help their clients, again, there'll be other trainings opening up soon, so there'll be more details. So just sign up at healendometriosisnaturally.com, and you can download your top 5 free tips there, and you'll get notification by email. But Marie, thank you so much. As always, it's always a joy to have you on and share your continued journey. And this is what I want for these podcasts too. I think we're at 50,000 downloads now. We've had like so many people listening to this. And I think what's great in building the momentum is people are following your journey. They're remembering where you've come from. and that's so special. But any parting words that you would say before we finish up here?
Oh, just thank you so much for the opportunity again. I really am so desperate to get this message out. Wendy is trustworthy. She's an amazing coach. She's got so much experience. You know, she's come through it herself and, you know, been in a really bad place with it. So you will be met with nothing but love and support from the Endo Boss team. Yeah, I look forward to working with you in the future if you come on board, and let's spread this message and get that movement even bigger than it is now and get more women in our community.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you so much, Marie. You're such a star, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience of the coach training and sharing your experience again of the Endo Boss Academy. And I really want you, you know, after this call, to make sure that you take the time to journal and give yourself, feel the emotion of the growth, because it's emotional. Well, that's why it's like, it's that balance, isn't it? We don't want to, they say like with the war, lest we forget. It's not that we want to go back and dwell in it, but equally we have to respect the journey that we've been on and celebrate where we're at, and then the visions for the future then keep, you know, become more crystal clear because we're pulling from our experience. So thank you so much for coming.
Very welcome. Thank you again for the opportunity. And please, ladies, please just listen to your gut and sign up.
Awesome. And that is a wrap. Well, thank you. That was lovely. You were really relaxed and comfortable and fluid, and again, a testament to you for feeling those emotions. And I know that this is new for you to feel the emotions in this way and comfort yourself and you know, think, oh my goodness, you've come so far. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's, and to be honest, I think it's good that people see that, because I know I'm upbeat and bubbly and stuff, but people need to see. I think they relate more to the sadness almost, which is an awful thing to say, but if they're in that place still, then, you know, the fact that they can see the difference, I think really helps.
I think as women, if women are listening to this, they've still got endometriosis, so they're kind of like, oh yeah, it's all very well you being upbeat and happy, but what about me? So exactly, if there's that lovely, you know, touching into the emotion of kind of like, oh wow, gosh, because sometimes every now and if I'm on someone's been asked me onto their podcast, whatever, and I sometimes like, oh crikey, yeah, I hadn't realized about the emotion there, but I'm comfortable with it. It's part of the story, you know. Maybe old me would have got stuck in it and dwelled in it and felt sorry for myself in it, and then said, don't you feel sorry for yourself, pull yourself, you know. It would have been like chalk and cheese what would have been going on. Now I'm like, oh bless, there's still some emotion there, there's still some part of me that feels that there's maybe needs a little bit of spotlight, maybe a bit of journaling, a bit of meditation on, because it was tough. It was a war. And that's why I did meditate.
I know. Yeah, and I mean, I'm never going to forget it. It's thank you.
And this is just a big thing.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Oh, it's so exciting.
Like, you take care, okay?
And you take care, Wendy. See you later.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy again. Wasn't that just amazing to hear from Marie in her own words? As I say, this is the third time she's come on the podcast, so you're really hearing her journey in her own words, and I just hope that you can, it's just ignited that little bit of a little ember, a little fire inside your belly as to what is possible. Your body's amazing. You know, you hear me say this repeatedly, but often there's a number of different things going on in the background that perhaps you haven't sort of been aware of. So as I say, the second edition of my book, I've actually adapted the name just a little bit to make it super clear to everyone what my book is about. It was, so it's now How I Ended My Endometriosis Naturally Without Painkillers, Drugs or Surgery, and it's going to be available on Amazon for release on Friday the 12th of March. So make sure to mark this in your calendar. There's going to be a 50% off the price of the paperback book for that one day only, and also 50% off my journal book as well, just as an extra bonus. You know how often I go on about the importance of journaling, and I really just want you to get this information so that you can just hear and read and see what is possible, contrary to perhaps what you've maybe been told, but equally be able to tap in and tune into your own internal instincts and intuition to see what is possible. So make sure March the 12th, I'll be giving you details running up to that. But if you want to get email notification, then do go to healendometriosisnaturally.com and register via the Top Tips download, and you'll be given details and links. But it'll be available on Amazon on March the 12th, 50% off. And I really hope that you enjoy getting this new, updated, fully revised second edition. There's loads of sort of there's additional 3 chapters. It's been bibliography at the end. We've got doctors' testimonials and things now as well, which is just even more super exciting. And I just really hope that you benefit from it, and that you at some point will be coming on as well and sharing your story on the podcast. But until then, keep your number one to your health. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one, for the world needs a healthy you.